All right, so an error like this, it's saying C program data tracks help documents insurance alias PDF. So it's basically saying I want to drop a PDF file in this location, and the error is telling us that it's denied. You know, you don't have access to that. Well, I always had access to it before. You know, the machine's been running great, and all of a sudden now it can't. In this instance, this is where you'd rerun a baseline. If you have a baseline on the network, you just rerun that guy and hit next, 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 all the way through. And I'll show you on here in a second, but rerunning a baseline won't break anything. Everything is stored in the registry on that computer, so all you got to do is hit next, 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 all the way through, and let it run on its own, and that will readjust these permissions. It doesn't think it has permissions to do it. You run the baseline will say, because there's a screenshot on the baseline that says, and it's always checked by default, allow everyone to have permissions to write to this folder, right? It says something like that.
Yeah,
allow everyone. Yeah. So it sets permissions at that point.
I say we run baselines over machines.
We run baselines over and over again. Yeah, you definitely won't break anything. Usually that'll fix a lot of the problems we have with machines, is just rerunning that baseline if there's some sort of error that crops up. But yeah, definitely it's not going to break anything. You're not going to destroy anything in your database or anything like that. So don't be worried about rerunning that baseline.
Now, a baseline takes, and on a fresh machine, it installs the databases. So don't worry that it's going to go and install databases over the top. It doesn't. It's not going to, the databases it's trying to install all have a date older than the databases you have, guaranteed. They're like 2015. So it's never going to say, oh, I'm going to put this here over you, because that guy's, much more, he's got the date's further out. There's no way it's going to overwrite with a date behind. So, all right, so sometimes this is a baseline. I know that this is a baseline issue. Sometimes this is PAC, and sometimes it's map. You get different errors in here. It might say mapping. It might say, instead of program data tracks help, it might say program data tracks mapping. Well, that's a good clue that we got to do the map again. That's what's causing this issue. This one is that number there after, well, you can kind of figure it out here. It has TraCS client update. That's the folder it's looking in. And then there's one of those big long numbers. And it's saying it can't find the input.xml. And I'll show you when we download a pack, it needs that input XML. And sometimes if it doesn't download properly from us, it might not have all the files in there. And the one that gives its instructions to run is this input XML. So if this guy comes up and it says, hey, I don't see this in this file, this guy's never going to update. We got to clear that folder out of there. We got to re-download and then check to see if we got that input XML in there. Most likely you do it. But at that time, it just got interrupted or something. And this screenshot is bad, but I thought it was good because, yeah, it's given an access denied to a library. Again, baseline on this guy is probably where I'd go to first, because baseline will overwrite set permissions to both program files x86 as well as program data. So if it ever gives you an access to path, it's run the baseline. That'll reset all permissions. Don't go into the folders trying to reset permissions. You might get there, but it's easier to just run a baseline. All right. When does this go to? 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Does it? Okay. All right. Any questions right now? I set something up. Anybody got any questions? All right. So what we'll do